What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Zach here with Good Game Nation, coming at you with another One Piece. It's another deck profile we're getting ready for. Getting ready to play it over the new, our weekly fight nights. Gonna get into it straight away, man. You've seen it before. I'm sure you'll see it again. It's Kaido. It's Purple Kaido. And so essentially, if for those of you who don't know what Kaido does, is 7 from dawn anywhere on your board. You create your opponent a life. Means they don't get it to their hand. It's really good. Helps you close out games. Yeah, there's 4 blockers. That's all he's here for. He's just a better statted Black Maria. Just better stat. So if you need it to push, which comes up every now and then, it's good. The Who's Who is, I feel like it's a necessary evil, right? Like, you have to play some kind of copies because you have to have some deterrence. So that's why we play the Who's Who. The Hold'em, I was up, if you've been following the channel for a while, I played Hold'em back when we first started playing Purple, and I still really like this card a lot. 1 mana every turn to swing for a potential life, and then if they kill it, you gain that mana. It's a really good tempo play, and I prefer tempo over like heavy control. So Jack is an option. Jack is what I'm playing. Some of the guys like playing ulti, and for me, ulti is it's too dead. It's weaker. It doesn't have counter power. Yes, you don't have to discard a card out of your hand, but to be honest, you're gonna have dead cards anyway, so it's okay. The counter power is probably more important. Another tempo, like the tempo plays that I like playing the ulti in the page 1. We're toying around right now with the 2-2 split on the page 1s. I still lean heavily towards the 6K just because the math makes sense, and it's easier to get cards out of your opponent's hand that way. But being able to deal with certain cards, like being able to attack into Drake, attack into Nico Robbins, Nami's, anything pesky that your opponent's trying to keep up, being able to swing into it is pretty good. Sentomaru is another option you can run into. The cards that people want to tempo into play, basically. It actually another thing, I guess the reason that it's playable primarily is because you can also force blocks with it, right? Because you can attack into the blocker. Like if you're in a mirror match, your opponent has queen, you can just slap a Dawn on it, swing, and say, all right, bet 6K into 6K, do something. And they lose the ability to block. So your other attacks that are probably higher can go through. We play 4 Drake. Hand discard is always good. It's never been bad, and I don't think it will ever be bad in fact, if I could, I would try to fit more Jacks, but I think it is a different deck completely. After Sam and I were talking about it, when we play Drake, he's also a 2K counter. This ulti is also a 2K counter. That's kind of important because the deck is pretty top heavy. We do play 2 of the Rush Queen. Having Rush in the deck along with the 9-drop Kaido is really good. It kind of you get games out of nowhere because sometimes you fall behind, and the Rush enables you to at least break even, and now your opponent has to deal with it. They're either losing cards out of their hands, so they're committing more to the board, or they're using their Dawn on their turn aggressively to try to kill your guys. And that's kind of what you want. You want to stabilize and then get your end game, because your end game is correct, right? And the last card that helps us get to the end game is, the 4-drop queen, 6-drop, 5-drop queen. Jeez. We play 4 copies. The blocker, the Graceful Charity, the card is always good. And never bad. And we play a 2-2 split of King. You'll see when we get to like deck limited battles and other things like that, it's 4 King period. But having the option to play 2 in set 1 and forward is why we're going to go the 2-2 split. Being able to kill, again, pesky cards like Sentomaru, Nico Robin, 6-drop King kills Drake, 7-drop cleans up the board a little bit more. Like we mentioned earlier, we play the 9-drop Rush. Essentially, It's your game ender. You want to, if you can curve into it again. Like I said, I'm a tempo player, so I favor that rush more than I favor the board wipe at the moment. Being able to just pop something for less Dawn, have one Dawn open to like Blast Breath or Ulti Mortar is more beneficial than clearing the board sometimes. And like I said, he's just you drop it, you kill something, you swing, and no one wants to ever just lose 5 to 6 cards out of their hand. So the card's really good. And then we play the board wipe, the only board wipe in the game. There are going to be grinding matchups. There are going to be times where 8-drop kids back to back, and it's going to annoy you. So you have to just play the big boy. You deal with the bodies, and if they can't recover, the game is over. If they do recover, you're in a tight spot. Always be wary of that. The card isn't like your saving grace. Like if you fall behind and try to play this card, it's a good way to help catch up. And if they can reestablish, you're probably losing that game anyway. That's my 2 cents on that one. The extra cards or the event cards, Blast Breath is just staple. Like -1 for 4K. Sure, I'm down all the time. It sucks that it doesn't have a trigger effect, but it's okay because 4K is very good. The Ulti Mortar is, what is the best way to describe Ulti Mortar? This card is very good, but this card is also very bad. Inherently, it's minusing, you're -2 inherently, right? Because it's the one that you're going to play to cost, and you're going to pitch that one and then pitch another one, plus the card out of your hand. So technically, it's like a neg. Card's not like super broken, but the 2K and being able to draw a card sometimes when you need to just kind of filter your hand is what's important. Coming out of life, ramping is pretty good, but the card only really works if you have Onigashima on the board because it becomes an inherent, like, it's not as bad. It's like a -2 instead of a -3 at that point. And for 2K, like it's solid. You at least break even. Thunderbog was another card we talk about. It's good, but it's also bad. Like it's very readable. If you're playing Kaido and you keep you keep 2 mana up, it's very readable. So playing around your opponent's life is important in situations like that because your opponent, like the Kaido player, never wants to Thunder Bagua just for the 4K. They want to get the ramp. It also triggers and ramps, so that's also good. And we get to the bread and butter of the deck, which is Shima. And when I say the bread and butter of the deck, I mean if you don't have it in your opening hand, I do not care how good the hand is. You throw the hand away and you try to get Onigashima. This card is the crux of your deck. This is how you win. This is what makes all your guys not bad cards. Because losing your mana in a you cap out is really good when you think about it. So Onigashima just allows you to essentially cap out and always break that cap. So what I mean by that is if you play queen, right? Let's say you play queen on like 8, you -1, or yeah, let's say you play her on 7, you -1. You go down to 6. You can Onigashima back to 7. You can crit your opponent. It opens up the plays. It makes your 7-drop king a -1 instead of 2. All of your Kaidos are better. Your queen rush, your Drake, the cards that say just discard, rush, things like that. Like being able to nullify that negative impact is what makes purple so good. So that's why we just play Onigashima. I guess outside of that, your matchups are very high rolly. Your early game is very important, and it takes a bit to get used to it. Sometimes you need to counter, sometimes you need to play blockers, sometimes you need to take the hits, and you need to know when and when not to. Because when you get to your top end, the game heavily swings in your favor. Purple has the best top end in the game. With that said, like your hyper aggro matchups are rough. Red green, rough matchup. Mono red, not so rough because they don't have ways to like establish the board. They don't have a lot of search options, a lot of recovery tools. Your blue matchup is it's kind of 50-50, honestly. Your like your king is your king has to be really good, and but you also have to worry about it. Your king has to do more than what their Doflamingo or what their response, their Mihawk, like you're gonna need to know, is it worth it? Like, is my king worth eating this right now? Because if your king is only gonna eat up one and it's not like an impactful card, they're just gonna Mihawk you and you're gonna cry. Because what do you do at that point? Like you lose all of the tempo that you have, and they now have a big beater on them. So the matchup I would say is a 50-50 matchup. That skill. Uh, your green matchup again, mono green feels fine. Red green not so fine. The red green there is, I do want to point out that there is a difference. You do have an easier time uh, against Law because Law requires himself to have 5 guys on the board, and you have a lot of stuff. So if you can keep the board state clear against Law, you're pretty favored. You have a solid matchup. Luffy, on the other hand, is a more aggressive Kid. So when you feel like Kid is a good matchup, Kid is a 50, and then you run into Red Green Luffy, which is basically Kid. It doesn't feel too good. It's a very, it can be grindy, swung. It can be heavily swung in uh, Luffy's side. Like that's just kind of how the nature of these matchups work. Opening hand stuff, ideally, like I said, Onigashima. Outside of Onigashima, if you have ulti page 1 queen, you feel good. If you have 10 drop Kaido and hold him, you feel good. If you have 9 drop Kaido, you still feel good. It's only the hands where you draw like a bunch of subpar stuff. Like you have Drakes, but nothing stronger. You don't have a stronger follow up play because ideally you want to starve them with Drake. Like you want to play Drake, bounce a card out of their hand, swing into a body, and make them waste another card. So your Drake is essentially 2 cards. So you still got your 2K's worth of counter and a body on board. Outside of that, I think there's plenty of cards we can talk about that you can interchange. Some of the stuff I just want to talk on real quick. When the film stuff comes out and you're able to use it, the film ulti, Uda, sorry, not ulti, Uda, it's kind of cracked. That's a really good tempo play right there. You also have access to bigger bomb cards. I'm getting the name, but it's like Bullet or something like that. There it is. It's a Douglas Bullet. At that point, purple has everything, right? Purple has banish, purple has double strike, purple has blocker, purple has rush, purple has ramp, uh, hand discard. Literally, purple has everything of any format that you want it to be in based off that alone. So if you're a toolbox player, if you are a deck builder, I would say I think purple is very fun to build for people who like to build decks. It's not fun for me. I don't like building decks. You guys build them, and I'll play them better. But you guys build them. Um, outside of that, that's all I got for today. Let me know what you guys think. How do you guys feel about Ultimortar if you've played it? Because the card is very, very in the middle. So I want to know what you guys have to say about it. If you guys have any other thoughts, any other things you want me to try, things you want to see out of us, let us know, and I'll build it to the best of my ability. Or you know what? How about you guys do me one better? You guys send me a deck list, and I'll play the deck list on one of our fight nights coming up. And we'll see how that goes. But yeah, that's all for today, guys. Appreciate everything. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and I'll be back around. We'll see you guys next time. Later.